Most people have heard it before, maybe on a stage, maybe from a motivational influencer, or even from the friend who just read a best-selling self-help book. You can do anything if you just believe in yourself. Think positive, visualize success, and success will chase you. But what if that's not just wrong, but actually holding people back? What if positive thinking on its own doesn't work? Today I'm going to say what most people are afraid to admit. Positive thinking won't let you do anything. Let that sink in. Because in a world obsessed with vision boards, manifestation journals, and social media gurus who want to sell you on a dream, nobody wants to be the one to break the spell. But this is the real world. This is real life. And in real life, there are rules, sometimes harsh, sometimes simple, but always honest. And the first honest truth is this: no matter how hard you visualize, you can't outthink reality. I know you've probably heard the stories, the tales of the person who just believed and then became a billionaire, a star, or a legend. But how many times have you actually seen it happen? And how many people have fallen for the same fantasy, trying to think their way into a future that never arrives, only to end up right back where they started, or even worse, stuck in blaming themselves for not believing hard enough? Here's a question: if positive thinking alone worked, wouldn't everyone be fit, rich, and living their best life? Wouldn't everyone who watched an inspirational YouTube short or listened to a 5-minute pep talk have everything they wanted by now? But they don't, because there's more to it than that. Let's be honest for a moment. I don't care how positive I got, I could never become a heavyweight boxing champion. Not at 60. Not ever. The same goes for playing in the NFL or suddenly becoming a world-renowned brain surgeon overnight. Reality is tough. It doesn't care about how many affirmations you say in the mirror, how many books you read, or how many quotes you post on Instagram. And if you're tired of being sold dreams with no foundation, then you're in the right place. See, there's a reason people get frustrated with self-help. It's not because people are lazy, weak, or undisciplined. It's because the advice is incomplete. We're not told the whole truth. We're told that mindset is everything, but the truth is mindset is just the beginning. It's the ignition key, but not the engine, not the fuel, and definitely not the map. But here's where things get interesting. While positive thinking won't let you do anything, it can let you do everything better than negative thinking ever will. That's not just a clever line. It's a fact proven by anyone who's achieved real, meaningful success. But there's a catch. Positive thinking is only as good as the goals you attach it to and the action you take behind it. Think of it like this: if your mind is a powerful car, positive thinking might get you in gear, but if you have no idea where you're going, you'll just drive in circles. Let's talk about goals for a moment. Most people have dreams, big ones, small ones, the kind they write in secret notebooks or whisper about late at night. But very few people turn those dreams into actionable, detailed, measurable goals. Even fewer set deadlines, track their progress, and adjust their approach when things get tough. And that's why year after year, most resolutions, promises, and this is my year moments fade away by February. Ask yourself, when was the last time you wrote down a goal and described it so clearly that you could see, taste, and touch it in your mind? Not just, I want a new car, or I want a better job, but I want a blue 2025 electric sedan with white leather seats, a panoramic sunroof, and it's going to be parked in my driveway by the end of this year. That level of detail changes the game, and it's something almost nobody teaches. It's not just about setting goals, though. The next step, the one nobody wants to talk about, is the grind, the obstacles, the moments when nothing goes right and you have every excuse to quit. Because guess what? It's just as hard to come back from a place you've never been as it is to reach a destination you never set. That's why the people who win, who really win, aren't just the positive thinkers. They're the planners, the doers, the relentless. They're the ones who see the wall, feel the pain, and keep going anyway. But there's more. Because in this story, it's not just about what you want or how you think. It's about what you let into your life, your mind, and your habits. Have you ever stopped to consider the mental garbage you pick up every day? If someone dumped trash in your living room, you'd flip out. But we let all kinds of junk into our heads, bad news, toxic people, useless content, and never even notice. The science says it takes 11 positive inputs to erase a single negative one. So why are we feeding ourselves mental poison and expecting to feel great? And let's not forget the experts who always seem to have the answer, usually for a price. They tell you to listen to their recordings, buy their books, and follow their morning routines. And you know what? Sometimes they're right. But the real winners, the ones who rise to the top, aren't just listening when things are bad. They're feeding their minds all the time, especially when they're already on a roll. Because that's when your mind is open, creative, and ready to make the leap from decision to commitment. But here's the twist. Most people miss. All the hustle in the world won't matter if you never stop to think, to reflect, and to be quiet. In our hyper-connected world, silence is a superpower. The biggest breakthroughs, the real sparks of genius, don't come in the chaos. They come in those rare moments when you're alone, undistracted, and finally able to hear your own thoughts. And then at the end of it all, after the goals, the grind, the mindset, and the quiet moments, there's one more thing, the thing that actually makes life worth living: your relationships, your family. The people who are with you when the cameras are off and the crowd goes home, all the money, success, and manifested dreams in the world mean nothing if you're alone, disconnected, or full of regrets. So if you're here for real answers, real results, and a real story about what it actually takes to change your life beyond the cliches and the recycled motivational quotes, then keep watching. Because we're going to break down the biggest myths, reveal the strategies the top 1% really use, and show you how to make positive thinking work for you without falling for the hype. Ready to see what really creates success? Let's dive in. If you were to ask the average person what it takes to change your life, there's a good chance they'll say something like, just think positive. It sounds simple, right? A catchphrase so embedded in our culture. You see it on coffee mugs, t-shirts, Instagram quotes, and classroom posters. But let's pause for a moment and look past the glittery surface, because hiding underneath all that shine is a truth nobody really wants to admit. Positive thinking alone won't change your life. You've heard the speeches, the viral TikToks, the podcasts where the expert sits in a $5,000 chair and claims the universe is just waiting for you to believe hard enough. The idea sells because it's easy. Who doesn't want to be told that if you simply focus your mind, miracles will start dropping out of the sky? It's comforting to believe you don't have to do the messy, gritty work. It's even more comforting to think you don't have to face your weaknesses, your limits, or the cold, hard reality that some things are simply out of reach. Let's call out the real myth. Positive thinking isn't a superpower. It's not a magic lamp. It's not a get-out-of-effort-free card. I know, it's tempting to buy into the hype, especially when you're struggling. Maybe your job feels like a dead end. Maybe you're fighting to keep your head above water financially. Maybe you're haunted by the feeling that no matter how hard you try, you never quite measure up. In those moments, just believe in yourself can sound like hope. But hope without a plan is just a mirage. Let's get brutally honest. No amount of mindset work is going to make me, at 60 years old, the next boxing champion. I could repeat affirmations all day, visualize every punch, even buy the gloves and train in the best gym in town. But biology, time, and talent all play their part. No amount of positivity is going to send me running touchdowns in the NFL or performing brain surgery or lecturing on quantum physics at MIT by the end of this week. If you've ever felt like you're failing because positive thinking didn't work for you, good news, you're not alone. You've just been sold the wrong story. There's a darker side to this myth, too. It makes people blame themselves for not getting results. Didn't land the dream job? Must not have believed hard enough? Didn't hit that six-figure income? Maybe you just need to raise your vibration. The myth takes real struggles and twists them into personal failures. It ignores hard work, skills, timing, and all the other real factors that shape our lives. But why does this myth stick around? The answer is as old as advertising: because it sells. Think about it, self-help industries rake in billions every year. The message is always the same: buy my book, join my course, listen to my morning routine, and you'll unlock the secret. It's a message designed to be comforting, addictive, and most importantly, to keep you coming back for more. And let's face it, The idea that success comes down to your thoughts alone is a lot easier to swallow than you might need to get uncomfortable, fail, learn new skills, or try a different path entirely. It gets more complicated in the age of social media. Now everyone's a mindset coach. You scroll through endless highlight reels of people who seem to have it all figured out. What you don't see are the failures, the years of practice, the setbacks, and the sleepless nights. You don't see the part where positive thinking alone wasn't enough, because it never is. But don't get it twisted. This isn't an attack on positivity. Having a hopeful, open attitude can open doors, keep you resilient, and help you bounce back from setbacks. The problem is never positive thinking itself. The problem is the lie that it's all you need. The myth ignores effort, it ignores setbacks, it ignores the brutal necessary reality that life gives nothing away for free. Want proof? Take a look at history's most successful people. Did they make it because they sat around manifesting greatness? Or did they sweat, sacrifice, fail, adjust, and refuse to stop when things got tough? Michael Jordan didn't just visualize shots, he missed thousands of them in practice before he ever made a game-winning one. Elon Musk didn't just sit and dream about rockets, he risked everything, failed publicly, and kept building. Even the legends who are famous for mindset are famous because they took relentless action. So why is this myth so seductive? Because it lets us off the hook. It whispers you don't have to do anything uncomfortable, just wish harder. But in reality, wishing without working is a guarantee of frustration. If you want to change your life, you have to face the truth. It's what you do with your thoughts that matters. Here's where things get interesting. When you stop waiting for the universe to deliver, you start taking control. You realize that action, consistent, focused, sometimes boring action, beats wishful thinking every time. When you see positive thinking as the fuel and not the vehicle, you stop getting lost. You start mapping out the real road to your goals. So the next time someone tells you you can do anything if you just believe, remember this: belief is the beginning, not the end. It's the spark, not the fire. It's the inspiration, not the plan. Your dreams deserve more than a slogan. They deserve strategy, grit, and action. And if you're still wondering what really works, if you're tired of the myths and ready for the blueprint, then stay tuned. Because coming up next, we're diving deep into the art of turning wishes into real goals, and why the world's most successful people never leave their dreams to chance. But that's just the first lie we've been told. The real secret, it's not about how much you believe, it's about what you do next. Once you shake off the illusion that positive thinking is a shortcut to greatness, you're left with a liberating truth. Real change begins with real goals, not vague hopes, not the wishful dreams you whisper into the void, but actual, detailed, actionable targets that pull you forward like a magnet. If you don't have a goal, you're not just standing still, you're drifting. You're at the mercy of the wind, carried wherever life decides to push you. And here's the hard truth. The world isn't going to organize itself for your comfort. If you don't chart your destination, you're not going anywhere worth going. Think about the difference. A wish sounds like this: I want to get fit. A goal sounds like I will lose 15 pounds by December 1st, and I'll do it by running 3 times a week, cutting sugar, and tracking my progress every Sunday. The difference is massive. Wishes make you feel good for a minute. Goals give you a reason to get up and act, even when you don't feel like it. That's why most people spend years circling the same problems. They're wishing, not planning. Goals are where desire meets reality. But here's a twist. Not all goals are created equal. It's not enough to say, I want more money or I want to be happy. Vague goals produce vague results. The world is full of people who want things, fame, fortune, respect, love, but who never see those things materialize because their wants are little more than daydreams. You don't rise to the level of your ambitions. You fall to the level of your systems. This is where almost everyone stumbles. They mistake wanting something for actually having a plan to achieve it. They wait for motivation to strike or for the universe to send a sign. But winners, Winners reverse the equation. They start with the goal, then reverse engineer the steps. They break big visions into bite-sized, actionable chunks, then chase those milestones with relentless focus. So how do you set a real goal? There's a blueprint, and it's both simpler and tougher than most people want to admit. First, write it down. No, really, write it down. Your mind is a chaotic place, flooded with thoughts and distractions. The moment you put your goal on paper, you give it weight. It becomes real, something you can see, measure, and chase. Studies show people who write down their goals are 42% more likely to achieve them. That's not magic, it's focus. But you're not done yet. Next comes the deadline. A goal without a deadline is just a fantasy. It's amazing how many people say, someday I'll travel the world, or someday I'll launch that business. Here's the secret. Someday is nowhere on the calendar. Until you pick a date, you'll never have urgency, and you'll never feel the pressure that pushes you into action. Pressure isn't your enemy, it's your catalyst. After you set your deadline, map out the obstacles. This is where most motivational gurus go silent, because talking about obstacles doesn't sell. But ignoring them guarantees failure. What's standing in your way? Is it money, time, knowledge, confidence, or fear? Get brutally honest. If you can't see the landmines ahead, you're guaranteed to step on them. But if you know the terrain, you can plan your detours. Every goal worth chasing has at least one mountain to climb. Now identify your allies. Success isn't a solo sport. Who can help you get there? Maybe it's a mentor, a coach, a supportive friend, or even a stranger who's already done what you want to do. Maybe it's the community you haven't found yet. The world is full of people who will lift you up if you have the courage to ask and the humility to learn. Remember, asking for help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Then comes the skills. Do you have what you need, or do you need to learn something new? Don't let the imposter syndrome freeze you in place. The internet has destroyed every excuse for ignorance. If you want to learn a language, build a website, or master a new craft, there's a course or community waiting for you. Winners are relentless students, always looking for an edge. And here's the twist. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to get started. Finally, craft the plan. Break your big, intimidating goal into daily or weekly actions. If your goal feels overwhelming, shrink it until it feels possible. Action is the antidote to fear. The longer you wait, the heavier the goal becomes. But the moment you take the first step, momentum starts working in your favor. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to climb the first step. Here's the danger. Most people set goals for one area of life and ignore the rest. Maybe you focus on your career, but your health and relationships get left behind. Maybe you chase money but neglect your spirit. Real success is about balance, and the most fulfilled people have goals across all areas: physical, financial, spiritual, career, family, mental, and social. Ignore one and it'll trip you up when you least expect it. And let's get one thing straight. Obstacles aren't a sign you should quit. They're proof you're on the right track. If it was easy, everyone would already have what they want. Every setback is a test of your commitment. Every failure is feedback, not defeat. Winners don't quit when it gets hard. They double down. So why don't more people set real goals? Because goals demand action. They force you to confront your excuses and step outside your comfort zone. Wishes are safe, goals are dangerous. They make you accountable. But if you're watching this, you don't want a safe, comfortable life. You want a life worth living. You want the adventure, the challenge, and the victory. This isn't theory. It's how every great achievement has ever been built. It's how people lose weight, start businesses, write books, build families, and change the world. Not by wishing, not by waiting, but by setting goals, making plans, and moving one imperfect step at a time. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I get it, but what kind of goals actually change lives? Here's the twist that nobody tells you. It's not the small, safe goals that light a fire in your soul. It's the big, bold ones. The kind that scare you. The kind that make your heart race, the kind that force you to grow into someone new. But what kind of goals are we talking about, and how do you set them up to win? Not just wish. That's where the real game starts. And in the next section, you'll find out. So you know you need goals, but maybe you're still wondering what kind of goals. Is it really just about earning more money, climbing the corporate ladder, or finally getting that summer body? The truth is, if you want a life that's not just successful but satisfying, your goals need to cover more than one slice of the pie. Real achievement isn't about domination in a single area. It's about harmony, balance, and depth across your whole life. And that's where most people get it wrong. Let's break it down. There are 7 major types of goals that shape a complete, resilient, and truly fulfilling life. Miss one, and your foundation is shaky. Nail all 7, and you're unstoppable. Here's what matters: physical goals. Your body is your vehicle through life, and if you neglect it, everything else crumbles. Physical goals aren't just about having abs or running marathons. They're about energy, health, and longevity. Want to climb a mountain with your kids, hike across the country in your retirement, dance at your granddaughter's wedding? None of that happens if you ignore your body. Set goals for strength, flexibility, stamina, and nutrition. Specific, measurable targets, not just get healthier. Maybe it's a certain number of push-ups, a race you'll run, or just walking 10,000 steps every day. Financial goals. Money isn't everything, but let's be honest. It's the oil in the engine. Without it, the machine grinds to a halt. Financial goals give you security and options. Are you saving for an emergency fund? Planning to get out of debt? Investing for your future? Maybe you want to hit a certain net worth, start a side hustle, or finally break free from paycheck to paycheck stress. Again, specifics matter. I want to be rich is a wish. I'll save $20,000 this year and invest 15% of my income is a goal. 3 spiritual goals. Whether you're religious, spiritual, or just searching for deeper meaning, these goals ground you. They give you perspective, help you weather storms, and connect you to something bigger. It could be daily meditation, regular prayer, volunteering, or simply committing to gratitude every morning. These are the goals that feed your soul and help you find peace, no matter what chaos is swirling outside. Career goals. This is where most people focus by default. But get promoted isn't a goal, it's a hope. The real winners set clear, actionable career targets. Maybe it's learning a new skill, landing a certain client, starting your own business, or leading a team. Maybe it's finding work that aligns with your passion and values, not just your bank account. The secret? Break your ambitions down. What position do you want? What will your day-to-day look like? What impact will you make? Define it until it feels real. Family goals. At the end of the day, relationships matter more than results. Do you want to strengthen your marriage? Spend more time with your kids? Reconnect with your parents or siblings? Family goals are the ones most people ignore until it's too late. Don't just hope you'll be a better spouse or see the kids more. Schedule date nights, plan family trips, commit to Sunday dinners. These are the goals that fill your life with memories, not just milestones. 6, mental goals. Your brain is a muscle, and if you stop challenging it, it starts to atrophy. Set goals to keep learning, growing, and staying sharp. Maybe it's reading a certain number of books, learning a new language, taking a course, or mastering a hobby. Don't let your mind go on autopilot. Feed it, stretch it, and it'll reward you with creativity and resilience. Social goals. Humans are wired for connection. The people you surround yourself with can elevate you or drain you. Set goals for networking, making new friends, strengthening old bonds, or joining groups that challenge and inspire you. Maybe you want to host a dinner party every month. Volunteer in your community or reach out to one new person each week. These aren't extras. They're fuel for your spirit and sanity. Here's the key. Every one of these goals needs to be specific, vivid, and personal. If you set vague general intentions, your brain files them away with the rest of life's background noise. But when you describe your goal in detail, when you can see it, smell it, and almost touch it, you create a mental blueprint your subconscious can't ignore. Want a new house? Don't just wish for a nice place. Picture the street, the color of the front door, the way the light falls through the living room in the afternoon. Want a new car? Know the make, the model, the year, the sound of the engine, even the scent of the interior. Goals with clarity create a hunger that pushes you forward. Vague ones do nothing. That's why the biggest, boldest goals create the most excitement. Small, safe goals won't wake you up early or keep you up late. They're forgettable. Big goals, they spark something inside. They make you nervous and thrilled at the same time. They force you to level up and become the person who can achieve them. The paradox is you don't set goals for what you get, you set them for who you become along the way. But you can't just set long-range goals and hope for the best. You need daily objectives, those small, consistent actions that lay the bricks for your dreams. If you don't have daily tasks, you're just daydreaming. Every overnight success you see is the result of hundreds of days of focused, unglamorous effort. Maybe you're thinking, but what if I fall short? Here's the secret. The size of your goals will always attract obstacles. Sometimes you'll face setbacks that make you want to quit. Market crashes, health scares, personal loss, but the thrill of chasing something big gives you the energy to push through the tough times. If your goals don't excite you, they won't survive life's storms. So ask yourself, which of these 7 areas have you been neglecting? Where do you need more clarity, more vision, more action? Start there, because clarity isn't just a productivity hack, it's the difference between living by design or by default. The more vivid your vision, the more likely you are to make it real. So set your sights high, get crystal clear, and build a life that excites you on every level. But having a vivid goal is just the beginning. What you feed your mind next, what you allow into your thoughts, will make or break your progress. And that's where most people fail without even realizing it. What you let into your mind is shaping your reality even when you're not paying attention. It's an uncomfortable truth that slips under most people's radar because mental junk food is everywhere. And it's so easy to consume without even realizing the damage it's doing. Think about it. If someone walked into your living room and dumped a bucket of trash all over the floor, you'd be outraged. You'd chase them out, call them crazy, and spend hours cleaning up the mess. But when it comes to our minds, we invite garbage in every day without a second thought. Negativity, fear, gossip, bad news, mindless scrolling, toxic comparisons, empty drama, these are the digital equivalent of junk food. And the problem is, the mind doesn't just forget. Every input leaves a mark. Science says it takes 11 positive messages to cancel out a single negative one. That means every careless word, every clickbait headline, every cruel comment on social media, each one is a stain that needs to be washed away by a flood of better influences. But most people don't treat their minds with even a fraction of the care they show their bodies or their homes. They allow anything and everything to take root. They binge the news, soak up other people's drama, and never pause to question, is this helping me or hurting me? Am I building myself up or slowly poisoning my confidence, clarity, and creativity? It gets worse in the age of constant connection. Notifications buzz, news cycles spin, and suddenly you're drowning in other people's agendas. It's not just random noise, it's a diet of doubt, comparison, and distraction. Over time, all that noise becomes the soundtrack of your life, and you don't even realize you're stuck in someone else's playlist. So, how do you fight back? The first step is radical awareness. Start treating your mind like the fortress it is. Be ruthless about what you let in. Ask yourself before you read, watch, or listen, will this serve my goals? Will it make me wiser, stronger, more focused, or just more anxious and confused? Imagine your mind as a garden. Every input is a seed. Some will grow into flowers, others into weeds. You are the gardener, and it's your job to cultivate the best. Start with what you read and watch. Is it building you up, giving you new tools, or just filling time? Is it inspiring you to action, or is it dulling your edge? The average person spends hours a day in front of a screen, but almost none of that time is invested in growth. The difference between winners and wishers often comes down to this single habit. Winners curate what enters their minds. Wishers consume whatever is easiest. Here's something almost nobody does, but the high performers swear by. Schedule time every day to feed your mind something powerful. Read 20 minutes of a great book, one that challenges your thinking, not just confirms what you already believe. Listen to an audio book or podcast from someone who's already where you want to be. Fill the dead time in your day, your commute, your workout, your chores, with content that lifts you higher. The car becomes a classroom, the walk becomes a seminar, and your downtime becomes your edge. It's not just about adding new knowledge, it's about replacing the garbage. For every hour you spend watching mindless TV or scrolling through someone else's drama, swap in an hour of learning, inspiration, or creative exploration. Over weeks and months, the shift is massive. Suddenly, your brain isn't just surviving, it's thriving. Think about the people at the top of their fields. The most successful salespeople, executives, and creators are obsessive about learning. They don't wait until they feel like it. They don't just read when they're struggling. They double down on growth when they're on top. Why? Because they know the mind is never static. You're either building strength or losing ground. Even astronauts on their way to the moon spent precious time listening to motivational recordings, not because they were lost, but because they wanted to stay sharp. The magic of constant learning is that it doesn't just add up, it multiplies. Every new idea connects with what you already know, sparking creativity and breakthroughs you never expected. When you fill your mind with the right inputs, you start seeing opportunities everywhere. You notice patterns, make connections, and find solutions that never would have appeared in a cluttered, negative mind. But here's the catch, it's not a one-time event. You can't binge a week of self-improvement and expect to be changed for life. Just like you can't eat healthy for a weekend and expect lifelong fitness, the real transformation happens through daily rituals, small decisions, and consistent effort. Over time, those tiny choices reshape your identity. You go from someone who's influenced by everything to someone who chooses their influences on purpose. If you ever doubt the power of mental input, look at your mood after a week of doom scrolling, gossip, or angry debates. Then compare it to a week spent reading, learning, and building something meaningful. Your mind reflects what you feed it, just like your body, your bank account, or your relationships. It's the oldest law of achievement, and it never fails. But maybe you're thinking, it sounds exhausting to curate every detail of what I let in. Here's a secret. It gets easier with practice. The more you filter out the noise, the less tempting it becomes. Over time, your standards rise. Junk food for the mind just doesn't taste as good when you've acquired a taste for real nourishment. Of course, life isn't about being perfect or becoming a robot. Everyone needs some entertainment, some laughter, some mindless fun. The key is balance. Make sure the bulk of what you're consuming is building you, not breaking you down. So here's a challenge. For 1 week, treat your mind like the most valuable real estate in your life. Audit everything you let in. Cut out one negative input and replace it with one positive every single day. At the end of the week, take stock. Notice how your focus sharpens, how your energy rises, how your ambition feels alive again. The difference is dramatic, and the best part, it's under your control. You don't need anyone's permission to change your mental diet. Start today and watch your life transform from the inside out. But even with the right fuel, even with the right mindset, there's one trait that separates the average from the extraordinary: the hunger to keep learning, no matter what. And in the next section, you'll discover how the world's top performers use relentless learning to leap far ahead of the crowd. There's a secret running through the lives of the world's highest achievers, a pattern so clear it's almost mathematical. They're never done learning. They never assume they know it all, never settle into a routine that's just good enough. No matter how much success they rack up, they're always searching, always reading, always asking, what's next? This is the engine behind greatness, and it's the dividing line between those who just get by and those who surge ahead year after year. Most people stop learning the day they graduate. The books gather dust, the lectures become a distant memory, and curiosity gives way to comfort. It's easy to get caught up in routines. Wake up, go to work, come home, zone out in front of the TV, and repeat. But there's a deadly trap here. What you don't actively grow, you gradually lose. The mind, just like the body, withers without exercise. It's the law of nature. Use it or lose it. But for the true winners, learning is never an afterthought. It's a lifestyle. They squeeze growth into every nook and cranny of the day. The commute becomes a classroom. The lunch break becomes a seminar. Even downtime transforms into opportunity. Take Mary Kay Ash, the founder of Mary Kay Cosmetics. She never got into her car without a motivational cassette queued up today. You might swap that for a podcast or audiobook, but the principle is the same. H.L. Hunt, worth billions at his death, was still listening to business tapes after his 80th birthday. Wallace Johnson, co-founder of Holiday Inns, kept reading and learning well into his 80s. These aren't outliers, they're templates. But what makes lifelong learners different isn't just consuming information, it's what they do with it. They're not passive, they're active. Always connecting the dots, always asking, how does this apply to my life, my goals, my next move? The average person might hear a great idea, nod along, and forget it by dinner. The relentless learner grabs that idea, writes it down, experiments with it, and turns it into results. Now let's talk about repetition, a concept most people misunderstand. It's not enough to hear a lesson once. The most powerful ideas need to be absorbed again and again. Listen to a recording, read a chapter, or take a course, not just once, but 16 times, if that's what it takes to make it stick. Each time you revisit, you see something new. Your brain, your circumstances, and your level of understanding have changed. That's why astronauts on the way to the moon and back filled their precious time with motivational and educational recordings. These are people at the pinnacle of achievement, yet they still feed their minds preparing for the unknown, fortifying their spirits for the challenges ahead. Repetition does something else too. It transforms a decision into a commitment. You might decide to lose weight, learn a language, or start a business. But until you surround yourself with reminders daily, hourly, relentlessly, your decision will stay weak, vulnerable to the next wave of distraction or doubt. Commitment is the invisible glue that holds your goals together when motivation runs out. And here's another secret. Don't just learn when you're down. It's common to reach for self-improvement when you hit a wall, when you're desperate for answers, or when everything feels bleak. That's a good instinct, but it's not enough. The best time to learn is when you're winning, when you're on top of your game. Why? Because your mind is open, optimistic, and ready to connect ideas in ways that fuel breakthroughs. When you're in a high state, every new lesson adds power, depth, and creativity to your arsenal. This habit of learning when you're up, not just when you're down, gives you a huge edge. Most people rest on their laurels after a win, but the lifelong learner asks, how can I get even better? This is the secret sauce of those who seem to catch every wave, capitalize on every trend, and bounce back from every setback. But let's not sugarcoat it. Being a lifelong learner is hard work. It means seeking out feedback, facing your weaknesses, and risking the embarrassment of being a beginner. It means sacrificing comfort for growth, leisure for curiosity. The world will try to lull you into complacency. The urge to coast, to settle, to just be good enough is strong. But if you want a life that's extraordinary, you have to fight that urge every single day. Technology has killed every excuse. You can learn anything, literally anything, without ever leaving your home. YouTube, online courses, books, podcasts, mastermind groups, forums, and coaching, it's all there 24/7. The only thing missing is your will to use it. If you're hungry, there's a buffet at your fingertips. If you're not, you'll starve even with abundance all around you. A practical tip, make a learning list. Each week, write down the topics you want to dive into, the skills you want to develop, the people you want to study. Block out time, even if it's just 15 minutes a day. Build a ritual around your learning, something you look forward to, not just another task. And above all, act on what you learn. Turn theory into practice, and you'll leap ahead of 99% of people who just read, nod, and forget. Maybe you're thinking, I don't have time. But if you tally up the hours you spend on distractions, mindless scrolling, empty conversations, TV background noise, you'll discover the time was always there. You just need to claim it. Lifelong learning isn't about being a genius or a workaholic. It's about keeping your edge. The world is changing faster than ever, and the winners are the ones who adapt, reinvent, and grow at lightning speed. They're never the finished product. They're the eternal students, hungry, humble, and just a little bit obsessed. In the end, the habit of learning compounds. A year from now, 5 years from now, you'll look back and barely recognize yourself. Every book, every course, every challenge taken head on, they build up stacking advantage on advantage while everyone else stands still. But even as you build your mind, there's a danger. The world never stops shouting. It never stops rushing. And sometimes the secret to growth isn't learning more, but pausing, stepping back, and listening to the silence. In the next section, you'll discover the forgotten art of stillness and why the most successful people treat quiet time as their greatest weapon. In a world obsessed with hustle, with getting more done, with squeezing the last drop of productivity out of every waking minute, the idea of sitting quietly can sound almost rebellious. For most people, stillness is an afterthought. The average day starts with an alarm and ends with exhaustion. In between, it's a blur. Emails, meetings, commutes, errands, chores, mindless scrolling, endless notifications. The pace is relentless. The noise never stops. The world rewards the busy, the loud, the always on. But here's a secret the most successful people guard closely. Stillness is not a waste of time. It's where your best ideas are born. If you've ever felt burned out, overwhelmed, or like you're stuck in a rut despite all your efforts, you're not alone. In fact, you're in the majority. Most people are sprinting through life, but never stopping to check the map. They wonder why they keep ending up in the same place year after year. But here's the paradox. Sometimes the fastest way forward is to pause. The breakthroughs you're searching for, the clarity you crave, the next big leap in your career or your life, all of it is waiting just out of reach on the other side of intentional quiet. Let's get brutally honest. The modern world is engineered to distract you. Every app, every platform, every notification is a little hook, pulling your attention outward, scattering your thoughts. The cost is enormous. When you're always reacting, you never get to listen to yourself, to your intuition, to the deep currents of creativity that only surface when things get quiet. And yet almost nobody takes the time to step back and simply be. Think about your own life. When was the last time you spent 10 minutes undisturbed, just sitting in silence? No phone, no music, no agenda. For most people, the answer is almost never. Instead, the day is a sprint, one thing to the next, falling into bed at night and waking up tired. It's a recipe for exhaustion, anxiety, and ironically, mediocrity. Because the truth is, your brain needs downtime. It needs space to process, to integrate, to imagine. Stillness is not just rest. It's where the real work happens. Top performers know this, even if they don't broadcast it on Instagram. CEOs, creators, world-class athletes, they all have rituals of stillness. Maybe it's a morning walk, a few minutes of meditation, or just sitting with a cup of coffee before the chaos begins. Some call it mindfulness, some call it prayer, some just call it thinking time. Whatever the label, the effect is the same. It's a reset. It's a chance to get out of the swirl of demands and return to your priorities. Here's the crazy part. Stillness is hard. The moment you try it, your mind rebels. Suddenly you remember 1,000 things you should be doing. Emails to answer, groceries to buy, deadlines looming. You feel restless, guilty, even anxious. But that's exactly why you need it. Those first few minutes are the detox, the withdrawal from a life of nonstop input. Push past it, and something amazing happens. Your thoughts settle. Ideas bubble up. You remember what actually matters. You start to see the patterns that were hidden in the noise. Stillness isn't about zoning out or doing nothing. It's about listening to the questions you've been ignoring, to the problems you keep circling, to the dreams you've shelved because you've been too busy. In that space, you rediscover what excites you, what bothers you, what needs to change. You get honest with yourself, and that honesty is the first step to real growth. You don't need hours a day or a Himalayan cave. Start with 5 minutes. Maybe you wake up 30 minutes earlier once a week, or you take a slow, lazy walk after dinner. No phone, no agenda, just letting your mind drift. Or pick a spot in your home and make it your quiet zone, a chair by the window, a park bench, the corner of your porch. The more you practice, the easier it gets, and the more you crave it. Soon you'll find that your best ideas, the flashes of inspiration, the solutions to problems that seemed impossible, always come in the quiet. Research backs this up. Scientists have found that default mode, the brain state when you're not focused on anything in particular, is when the most creative connections happen. It's the brain's way of taking all the information you've absorbed, mixing it together, and serving up something new. That's why the classic eureka moment happens in the shower, on a walk, or when you're drifting off to sleep, not during a meeting or staring at a screen. But the benefits of stillness go deeper. It's not just about creativity or productivity, it's about energy. When you move through life at full speed, every system in your body is on high alert. Your stress hormones spike, your focus narrows, your patience evaporates. Stillness is the antidote. It calms your nerves, lowers your blood pressure, and gives you the strength to handle whatever comes next. It also connects you with your deepest values. In the rush of daily life, it's easy to lose sight of what really matters. You chase deadlines, status, likes, and approval. But for what? In stillness, you can step back, ask the big questions, and realign your actions with your purpose. It's a course correction, a chance to make sure you're not just climbing the ladder, but that the ladder is leaning against the right wall. Of course, stillness doesn't mean isolation. It's not about withdrawing from the world or ignoring your responsibilities. It's about giving yourself the space to show up fully, more focused, more grounded, more present. The time you invest in quiet reflection pays dividends in every other part of your life. Here's a challenge. This week, schedule 3 sessions of stillness, just 5 to 10 minutes each. No phone, no agenda, just you and your thoughts. Notice what comes up. Notice the ideas that appear, the clarity that returns, the sense of calm that follows. Write down whatever surfaces, no matter how small. You'll be surprised by what your mind produces when you finally let it breathe. The truth is, stillness is a practice. Some days it's easy, most days it's not. But over time, it becomes a superpower, a force multiplier that sets you apart from everyone else racing through life on autopilot. But here's where things come full circle. No matter how sharp your mind or clear your vision, success feels empty if you're alone, disconnected, or full of regret. In the next section, you'll discover why the greatest wealth isn't measured in dollars or accolades, but in the depth of your relationships and how those bonds quietly shape every triumph you achieve. After all the talk of goals, growth, learning, and drive, there's a truth that blindsides people, even the most ambitious. When you strip everything else away, success is hollow if you're alone. All the money, status, trophies, and Instagram likes in the world can't fill the empty space left by neglected relationships. It's an uncomfortable truth, but the world's happiest, most fulfilled high achievers have figured it out. Your real wealth is measured in time spent with those you love. It's easy to get caught up in the grind. Modern culture worships the solo hustler, the founder burning the midnight oil, the influencer living in hotels, the executive who never leaves the office. But when you look behind the highlight reel, a different story emerges. Study after study, biography after biography, reveals that lasting fulfillment comes not from what you accumulate, but from the connections you nurture. Deep down, we all know this. Think about your proudest moments, a celebration with friends, laughter around a family table, quiet moments of connection with a parent, child, or partner. These memories linger long after the paychecks are spent and the applause fades away. You don't have to take my word for it. Look at the data. In a landmark study, Korn Ferry International and UCLA's School of Management analyzed the habits and lives of over 1,300 top executives, people making on average more than $200,000 a year. What did they have in common? Sure, they worked hard, about 50 hours a week on average, but the most lucrative, the ones who rose highest, had 2 powerful traits. First, they'd held fewer jobs over their careers, proving the value of loyalty and stability. Second, and most telling, nearly 90% were still married to their first and only partner. A staggering 92% were raised in 2-parent homes. The message is clear: success grows where relationships are strong. The story is the same among America's millionaires. U.S. News and World Report found that despite the public's obsession with sports stars and celebrities, less than 1% of millionaires made their fortunes in music, entertainment, radio, or athletics, all of those dream jobs combined. The vast majority built wealth slowly, steadily, and almost always in the context of stable families. Most are still married to their high school or college sweethearts. They work hard, but they're not martyrs. They spend real time with their kids, their spouses, their communities. For these quiet winners, the family isn't just a footnote, it's the foundation. But if you need more than stats, think about regret. What do people wish for on their deathbeds? No one ever says, I wish I'd spent more time at the office, or I wish I'd scrolled through more emails. The pain comes from missed opportunities to love, to reconcile, to forgive, to say the things left unsaid. You can always make more money, but you can never get back time. That's why every few months, it's worth closing your eyes and picturing a world where everyone you love is suddenly gone. It's brutal, but it's clarifying. Would you regret not picking up the phone to call a sibling or an old friend? Would you wish you'd spent less time chasing goals and more time building memories? These are the questions that matter when the noise quiets and the deadlines fade. Yet, in the daily rush, it's so easy to take the people closest to us for granted. The routines take over, rush to work, run errands, answer emails, eat dinner in front of the TV, collapse into bed, repeat. Days blur into weeks, weeks into years. The relationships that should be the deepest become the ones that get the scraps of our time and energy. If you don't actively protect and nurture those bonds, the drift is inevitable. Closeness turns to distance. Connection turns to awkwardness. It doesn't have to be this way. So how do you make relationships a priority without sacrificing your ambition? Start by putting them on your calendar. It sounds unromantic, but the best things in life are built by intention, not accident. Schedule family dinners. Plan date nights. Set aside an afternoon for your kids or a weekend for your parents. Don't wait for free time. Make it. And when you're with the people you love, be present. Leave the phone in another room. Let the emails pile up for an hour. Make eye contact. Listen, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Those small, consistent moments of presence are what make relationships unbreakable. If you've let a relationship slip, it's never too late to rebuild. Pick up the phone, send the message, make the visit, apologize for lost time, and start new. Most people wait for the right moment, but the right moment is always now. Don't let pride or guilt rob you of years you can never get back. It's not just about family either. Your chosen tribe, your friends, your mentors, your community are all critical. They challenge you, inspire you, hold you accountable. They remind you who you are when you forget. If you want to move faster, find someone who's already been where you're going. If you want to be better, surround yourself with people who demand your best. And don't just take, give. Celebrate their wins, mourn their losses, show up even when it's inconvenient. You may be thinking, but I have goals, I have to grind. Isn't family just a distraction? The world's most fulfilled people say otherwise. When your relationships are strong, you show up to your work more focused, more resilient, more creative. Love is the ultimate energy source. The most powerful executives, entrepreneurs, and athletes all have something in common. When they go home, they're loved. They have someone who believes in them, who catches them when they fall, who reminds them there's more to life than the next milestone. Of course, relationships are messy. They take effort, patience, humility, and forgiveness. But they're worth every ounce. If you want to win at life, start by winning at home. The bottom line, don't let your dreams steal you from the people who matter most. The world will never remember you for your follower count or your bank balance, but the people you love will never forget the time you gave them. Your legacy isn't built in the spotlight, it's built in the quiet, ordinary moments you share with others. And so as we pull all of this together, remember, success isn't just about what you achieve, it's about who you become and who you take with you. Because the richest life is always measured in love, not likes. But what does it all add up to? How do all these lessons combine into a formula for real, lasting success? In the conclusion, we'll tie it all together, revealing how you can take everything you've learned and build a life that's not just impressive on paper, but truly meaningful every single day. So what does it all mean? After all the noise about positive thinking, goal setting, mental input, learning, quiet reflection, and relationships, what's the true formula for a life that feels like a win, not just looks like one? The answer is simpler and more powerful than most people want to admit. Real success is never built on a single pillar. It's a balance, a harmony, a mosaic of effort, growth, love, and awareness, lived intentionally, one day at a time. Let's be brutally honest. The world will always try to sell you shortcuts. There's always another hack, another secret, another influencer promising the fast track to riches, fitness, or happiness. But you've seen the truth now. Positive thinking on its own is just the start. It can light a spark, but without clear goals, it's just empty optimism. And even with goals, if you're feeding your mind junk, your fire will burn out before it ever ignites real change. The top 1%, those who build wealth, resilience, fulfillment, and deep relationships, aren't following a single script. They're drawing from every lesson, stacking their habits, protecting their minds, and staying humble enough to keep learning. They reflect, they rest, they show up for the people who matter, and they chase big, clear, meaningful goals. They aren't afraid of discomfort, setbacks, or uncertainty. They're focused on the long game, the kind of success that doesn't just flash for a moment, but endures for a lifetime. If there's one theme running through every story of real achievement, it's this: you are responsible for the inputs. Nobody else can choose your goals, guard your mind, or prioritize your relationships. No one can make you sit still and listen to your intuition. No one will force you to keep learning when it's easier to coast. Your habits are the bricks, your choices are the mortar. Day after day, the life you want is built by what you decide, consume, pursue, and cherish. But let's talk about fear, the thing that keeps most people stuck. It's tempting to play small, to shrink your dreams, to hide from the work. Maybe you've failed before. Maybe you worry you're too late, too inexperienced, too tired, or just too ordinary. Here's what the winners know. The biggest risk isn't failing. The biggest risk is spending your one and only life waiting for a sign, a guarantee, or someone else's approval. All that waiting leads to one thing: regret. And regret is the heaviest weight you'll ever carry. Think about the journey you've taken through this script. You started with a challenge to the positive thinking myth. No more empty slogans, just real talk. You learned the power of specific, vivid, multidimensional goals. You understood how every thought you consume is shaping your future, sometimes without you realizing. You discovered the compounding magic of lifelong learning, how small daily growth adds up to extraordinary advantage. You saw that even the sharpest minds need time to unplug, to reflect, to recharge, and see the patterns hidden in the noise. And you came face to face with the ultimate measure of wealth, time with those you love. If you're still with me, you've already set yourself apart. Most people click away when it gets real, when the truth becomes uncomfortable, or when action is required. But you're here because you want more than the surface level promises. You want to live deliberately. You want to build a life that matters. So what now? How do you turn these ideas into action? Start small, but start today. Pick one area that's been neglected. Maybe it's your health, your finances, your mind, or your relationships. Set a goal that scares you a little. Write it down, make it vivid, and give it a deadline. Then identify the obstacles and the allies. Commit to feeding your mind with something powerful every day. Make learning a habit, not an afterthought. Schedule moments of quiet, even if it's just a few minutes a week, and reach out to someone you care about. Don't let the days drift by while you wait for the perfect time. Track your progress, and don't be afraid to adjust the plan. Life will throw curveballs. Markets change, relationships evolve, setbacks hit. When they do, don't see them as proof you're failing. See them as evidence you're growing. Every great story has twists, turns, and moments of doubt. What separates the heroes from the bystanders is the willingness to keep moving, keep learning, keep showing up. Most importantly, don't forget what really matters. The applause will fade, the money will come and go, trends will shift, and achievements will be forgotten. But the lessons you live, the people you love, and the values you practice, those last. That's your legacy. That's what will outlive you. And here's the last twist. The formula you've learned isn't static, it's dynamic. As you grow, your goals will change, your values will deepen, the people you cherish will shape your story in ways you can't predict today. Be open to the evolution. Stay curious, humble, and hungry. Never stop building, loving, and reaching higher. Now, I'll leave you with a challenge. Don't just close this video and go back to normal. Write down the one insight that hit you the hardest, the one change you know you need to make. Share it in the comments, because when you make your intentions public, you double your chances of following through. And if you're brave enough, tell someone you love what you're working toward. Invite them to join you on the journey. This isn't about chasing someone else's version of success. It's about writing your own definition day by day, choice by choice. Because in the end, the only person you need to impress is the one in the mirror. You're not here by accident. You're here because you're ready. So don't wait for another sign. This is your moment. Go build a life that makes you proud, not just someday, but starting right now.